こんにちは。今日は4月16日です。木曜日です。Today is Thursday, April 16th. There is a student internship opportunity for the U.S. Senate campaign. If you're interested in applying for information or an internship with Teresa Greenfield for Iowa, you should email questions or a resume to Emma@greenfieldforiowa.com. That's Emma@greenfieldforiowa.com if you're interested in a student internship opportunity. UHS choirs are now auditioning for the next school year. Contact Mr. Bremeyer by email to schedule a remote audition time or ask any questions. Concert choir and bass choir do not require any audition. We have a place for everyone who wants to be a part of our community. Urbandale Community School District families can still get Chromebooks if needed. You'll need to email or call Dr. Carrie Schluter, or you could let a teacher know and they can get in touch with Dr. Carrie Schluter for you. Hashtag I decided. Decision day is May 1st. UHS seniors, parents, and guardians are invited to fill out the following survey before April 30th so we can celebrate our seniors post-secondary plans. You'll go to www.uhsguidance.com for more information and the survey. In order to ensure that all students have internet access, the board has approved the purchase of internet access for any students and families who don't currently have it. By the way, the district has checked out over 1,000 Chromebooks to students who need them. AP exam schedule, there are two times, May 11th through the 22nd and June 1st through 5th. If you're planning on taking the AP exams, you need to double check to see when those are and about fees. That's at apcentral.collegeboard.org. Do check that out. Grab-and-go meals are being served at 6 locations: Timberland and Meredith, 11 to 11:20. Bristol Ridge from 11:30 to 11:50, and Cross Creek from 12 to 12:30, and at the elementary schools, Jensen from 11 to 11:20, Karen Acres from 11:30 to 11:50, and Valerius from 12 to 12:30. That's grab-and-go meals, free meals for all children ages 1 through 18. All right, today I'm going to be reading to you from this book, The Mad Scientist Club. When I was a young lad, probably in 3rd grade, I wanted to be a scientist, but I didn't want to be just any old scientist. I wanted to be a mad scientist. And back in those days, they had a thing called the Bookmobile, which was this big van that had a bunch of books in it. It would drive from little neighborhood to neighborhood. And so if you couldn't get to the public library, you just wait for the Bookmobile to make its rotations into your neighborhood. And I found this book on the shelves, The Mad Scientist Club, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. That's so cool. They had a clubhouse. Back in my day, there wasn't such a thing as chat rooms. We had, well, if you were really cool, you actually had your own room. And if you were really, really cool, and you had a clubhouse. Now, I didn't know anybody who had a clubhouse, but these guys did. And they were the Mad Scientist Club, and so from that point on I wanted to be a mad scientist. So I'm going to be reading to you a little bit from the Mad Scientist Club. The Strange Sea Monster of Strawberry Lake. Dinky Poor didn't really mean to start the story about the huge sea monster in Strawberry Lake. He was only telling a fib because he had to have an excuse for getting home late for supper. So he told his folks he'd been running around the lake trying to get a close look at a huge snake-like thing he'd seen in the water. And the first thing he knew, he was too far from home to get back in time. His mother and father greeted this tale with some skepticism, but Dinky's 2 sisters were more impressionable, and that's how the story really got out. They kept pestering him for so many details about the monster that he had to invent a fantastic tale to satisfy them. That's one of the troubles with a lie. You've got to keep adding to it to make it believable to people. Well, it didn't take long for the story to get around town, and pretty soon Dinky Poor was a celebrity in Mammoth Falls. He even had his picture in the paper, together with an artist's conception of the thing he had seen. It was gruesome looking, something like a dinosaur, but with scaly sawtooth back like a dragon. Dinky was never short on imagination, and he was able to give the artist plenty of details. It was the artist's sketch in the newspaper that got Henry Mulligan all excited. Henry is the first vice president and also chief of research for the Mad Scientist Club, and is noted for his brainstorms. Neither Henry nor anyone else in the club actually believed Dinky had seen a real monster, but we were all willing to play along with the gag, especially when Henry suggested that we could build a monster just like the one shown in the newspaper. Build a monster? Freddie Muldoon's round face was all Google-eyed. He loved the idea, but he just didn't know how Henry proposed going about it. He rubbed his button nose, which was always itching, and asked, "You mean a real monster that can swim?" "Don't be a dope," said Dinky. "I ain't a dope, but who ever heard of a monster that can't swim?" "The one we build will float," said Henry, rubbing his chin and looking up at the rafters of the club laboratory the way he always did when he was speculating on a new project. "All we need is some canvas and chicken wire and Jeff Crocker's canoe." Jeff Crocker is president of our club, mainly because his father owns the barn that we have our lab in, but also because he's just as smart as Henry and maybe a little more scientific. Henry dreams up most of the schemes that we get messed up in, but it's usually Jeff who figures out how to do everything or how to get us out of what we got into. Since Henry's plan is to build a lake monster seemed like a good one, we held a formal meeting of the club that night to take a vote on it. Naturally, we all voted in favor of building it, and 3 days later, we had most of the monster finished. We didn't know what to call it. Some of us referred to it as a sea monster, and some of us just called it a lake dragon. But mostly, we just called it the Beast. We built it on a small piece of dry land hidden way back in the swampy end of the lake that only we knew how to get into. Henry and Jeff had designed a frame of light lumber and lathes that had the shape of a big land lizard, and we suspended this across the gunwales of the canoe. Then we hung chicken wire on the frame and stretched canvas over it. With a little paint and a few shiny tin can lids spotted here and there, we soon had a loathsome-looking creature guaranteed to scare the life out of anyone 100 yards away from it. And that's from the Mad Scientist Club. Have a great day, UHS.